Yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, mic check 1 2 1 2. What is this? It's your boy Dre La Soul here with some more crypto wisdom, crypto news for your head top. So, the market is crazy right now. You know, everything is in the red. People were expecting us to be skyrocketing right now in the green, but don't panic. You know, Bitcoin is just below 100,000. We were just at 106,000. So, it's not that bad. Trust and believe. And trust from somebody that's been in the market for a minute, has seen bear markets, have seen plenty of obituaries for Bitcoin. And every year, a few times out of the year, people say Bitcoin is dead. It's over for Bitcoin. But guess what? Bitcoin ends up proving everybody wrong time and time again. It's the best performing asset for the past decade. So this is the reason why we make this. And it's not all about the money. It's about the technology, the freedom, right? The sovereignty that it promotes. Bitcoin just promotes a whole slew of things that just is the epitome of betterment for society and betterment for people, not having to rely on Babylon, which is the government, the system necessarily, even though the government is now jumping in because they see the power of it. And that's the reason why we have to continue to front run the government, because it's the first time in history that we have been front running the government and the bigwigs ever, right? So they're trying to put the prices down so that they could jump in, have their cronies jump in and get in at good prices. So don't panic. You know, smart money is buying. They're continuing to buy, and that's pretty much what this is going to be about. My next few videos is going to be about the same thing. Don't be scared. Don't panic. Don't worry about anything. Right? History is repeating itself. Right? History is repeating. Bitcoin's price this level. So this year is shaping up to be a massive year for crypto. Right? We're heading towards much higher valuations, but as always, after rolling the debt, you know, liquidity, you know, tends to tighten due to inflation pressures, right? So that typically leads to the market pullback before the cycle resets, right? History is repeating itself, at least according to global macro investor Raoul Pal. So this is a good dude to follow. Raoul Pal, he talks about the macro economy, which is the big picture of the economy. He's been in the game for a minute. He believes 2025 will create millionaires. So stick around for the full breakdown of what we're about to talk about. You and I both know Raoul Pal for his legendary Bitcoin and Solana calls during the bear market and whatnot. So he's a big advocate for Bitcoin as well as Solana. He predicted Bitcoin at this particular price. He also called Solana at a really low price as well. And now he's, you know, updated his 2025 crypto outlook on the global liquidity cycles, because pretty much what he's saying, as liquidity comes into the market or into these spaces globally, it's going to cause, you know, prices to go up in risky assets because there's going to be more money moving around. So in this video, Raoul Pal covers the base case and bull case for Bitcoin in 2025, the stock market's impact on the crypto prices, and the Trump administration's crypto strategy. Now, the reason why we look into the stock market is because now the stock market and Bitcoin are very close. They're very correlated. So as the stock market moves, Bitcoin lags. It usually follows after it, right? And many are saying it's now considered like one of the big assets on, or stocks on, the NASDAQ, QQQ. But let's take a look at this video from Raw Paul.
Before.
I want to get your views on the S&P and the NASDAQ now. We've had two incredible years, 23 and 24. S&P and NASDAQ up 25 to 30% both years. I read in one of your letters, you had an incredible 2024, up 150%, one of your best years ever. I'm going to have to give you some of my money. But what are your thoughts? Do you think we can have a third incredible year in the S&P?
I'll use the NASDAQ as the best example. 97.5% of the entire trend of the NASDAQ is driven by liquidity. So it's a 97.5% correlation. So really what is driving equity markets is the action of the Federal Reserve plus the Treasury. And that's the Treasury General Account, that is the reverse repo, that is the balance sheet. And then in addition, it's what the global governments are doing. So global liquidity is the big driver of everything. So if we know that there is, I don't know, 8 trillion or 10 trillion of debt to roll this year, the bond market's already struggling, they need liquidity. Well, the probabilistic outcome is we're going to get a lot of liquidity. Trump also likes high asset prices. So the chances of this being another strong year for equities is high. It will be probably volatile, probably more volatile than last year was. But I don't see a world in which it won't if the government rolls its debt, which it has to do. And it's the same for the Europeans, it's the same for the Chinese, it's the same for the Japanese. Everyone's got the same thing to do. And to do that, they inject liquidity.
So it goes back to the point I made earlier. He's going to do anything and everything he can to keep the economy going, keep the markets going.
Yeah. Number one, roll the debt. That's the single most important thing, because if you blow up your entire bond markets, that's the end of the game. So rule number one, roll your debt. In doing that, you have to add liquidity, and that's going to drive asset prices. So it's going to make him look good.
The feasibility of a Bitcoin reserve, you said that's being studied. It's one of the first things that's on the table here. What goes into that process?
The item that President Trump asked our working group on digital assets to study is whether it's feasible to create either a Bitcoin reserve or some sort of digital asset stockpile. And so we're going to be looking at that question. We haven't committed yet to doing it, but it's one of the first things we're going to be looking at.
Recast for us, if you will, the value of Bitcoin specifically, cryptocurrency and blockchain technology in general. What do you see as the real value and the reason why the United States government should be paying so much attention to it?
Well, I think there's a few different aspects here when you're talking about digital aspects. So first of all, you got Bitcoin. It was the first digital currency, and it's the original. It's the strongest one. In the parlance of the industry, it's the most lindy, meaning it's been around for over a dozen years now. No one's ever hacked it. No one's ever cracked the security around it. And so it is an excellent store of value. So that would be point number one. Bitcoin is run on, as you know, a blockchain. It's basically a distributed ledger, which is essentially a form of decentralized computing. And that platform can be used to create a lot of other types of products. And so that would be sort of technology area number two, is all the innovation that can be built on top of blockchains. And then I would say a third area that's very interesting is stablecoins. And this is an area that has already taken off, but mostly offshore. We want to bring that innovation onshore. We want to enable legislation to allow the issuance of stablecoins in the United States. And I think the power of stablecoins is that it could extend the dollar's dominance internationally, extend it online, digitally, and create potentially trillions of dollars of new demand for our U.S. treasuries, which could help support our debt and bring down long-term interest rates. So I think these are all three very exciting areas of digital asset technology.
So as I was saying, Bitcoin is now tied to Wall Street, right? Thank BlackRock and all the institutional, adoption for this. If that's the case, then we need to look at the stock market predictions to understand Bitcoin's future. Raw highlights a key stat: 97.5% of the Nasdaq's price movement is driven by liquidity. What does that mean? The Federal Reserve, Treasury policies, and global governments dictate where the market goes, pretty much, right? So with 8 to 10 trillion in debt to roll over this year, bond markets are struggling. Governments must inject liquidity to prevent a meltdown. And guess what? More liquidity means more higher asset prices, including Bitcoin, right? So Trump is also pro crypto, which is another thing, and favors high, asset prices and all that good stuff. And, his ego is attached to all of this. So his administration is already discussing a strategic Bitcoin reserve, a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the U.S. government. So the U.S. government is studying the feasibility of holding Bitcoin as part of its financial strategy. So David Hurst, who's a top financial expert, breaks down, Bitcoin is the strongest digital currency. It's never been hacked, never been cracked. Blockchain is revolutionizing decentralized computing, and stablecoins could strengthen the U.S. dollar internationally. In fact, we could see clear regulatory framework within the next 6 months. That's a game changer for the entire digital asset ecosystem, right? Now, let's talk about the price prediction for 2025. So Raoul believes in 2025, it will mirror the bull cycles of 2013 and 2017. And that's when we had really crazy, price increases.
For Trump. And what we saw then was ongoing injections of liquidity. We started the year with a sharp 30% correction or 25% correction, the sort of thing we're getting now. And then liquidity just came all year. And it wasn't actually massively put in by the US. It was actually China last time. And I think we might see that again this time, where China is going to play an important role in global liquidity. So I think it's going to be a much stronger year than people expect. People have a lot of PTSD from 2021, where it peaked early, then collapsed, then went back up again, then collapsed. I think it's going to look more like we saw in 2013, 2017. So yes, I remain very bullish for this year on all risk assets.
So if I use similar numbers, let's just use round numbers. It's at 100,000. You see it pulling back 25% to 75, and then take off
Probably
again.
not even. I don't think it goes down 25% because there's ETFs and there's the market is more mature. So let's say it go let's say 90,000. So it goes from 100 and where did it get to? 110 down to 90,000. Okay, that seems about right. So not far from where we are now. And then it finishes the year in a worst case scenario. I think it's like 200, 250. In a base case scenario, it's kind of 350. And in a blow off top cycle like 2017, back end of the year, could go north of 500,000.
So let's break that down. So the base case, Bitcoin could hit 250 racks, 250,000. And the bull case would be Bitcoin could reach 350,000. The blow off top would be Bitcoin soars past 500K. Now, it's possible, but I don't know if it's possible for this cycle, but we'll see. So even a conservative scenario, a conservative scenario puts Bitcoin well above six figures. This isn't just about Bitcoin anymore as well. It's about altcoins booming as well. So the altcoin explosion, because, Solana has been ripping. Solana has had its best quarter ever. It's up a crazy amount. And Van Eck predicts Solana could hit $520 this year. Then we got Mike Novogratz. He admits that he was wrong about XRP and Cardano. And Mike Novogratz is a really big player in this game. He's a billionaire. He believes now, altcoins are entering like a new paradigm, right? And he's saying the reason why is because narratives are driven by enthusiasm. And enthusiasm creates value. So in a sense, all of these things are kind of like stores of value, not just Bitcoin. Value is stored into these blockchains, into these coins, and into these protocols.
Reality for all crypto ecosystems is narrative brings an enthusiasm, and enthusiasm creates value. And why smaller ecosystems persist is because they have some little narrative that keeps their participants engaged. And you look at something, I always pick on Cardano, and mostly I get yelled at. But I was wrong. I was wrong in that I thought lots of these ecosystems would go away. And they didn't. And I have a very different view on this now. It's the libertarian view. If people want to be part of the XRP army, let them. That's their decision. And XRP has a narrative, and they like it. It's in some ways, all of these ecosystems have a little bit of store of value in them. People are storing their value there. And the narrative that gets people there is often not store of value, right? Most of the market cap of Ethereum right now is store of value, but what got people there is a narrative about this is going to be Web3.
Then you got MicroStrategy rebranding to Strategy. Institutions are doubling down on the crypto space. We're in a new era of digital assets, right? So I don't know if you're ready for what's coming, but I'm telling you to be prepared for what's coming, right? If you're serious about making some bread in crypto, if you're serious about learning what's going on for the future, how to secure yourself, your family, and you got to save yourself first, because if you don't save yourself, you can't save the fam. But that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It ain't about getting rich quick or nothing like that. But it is about knowing what's to come in these markets, because guess what? Big money is putting money into these markets, and big money are BlackRock, Fidelity, all these big companies, right? So those who, jump in early and front run and go through all the turmoil at the bottom will be rewarded when it gets to the top. Just make sure you let go and sell. Don't marry these coins. Don't get too attached. But that's it for this crypto rant. We out. It's your boy Dre La Soul. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. We out.